Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of An Apple a Day. Today, Dr. Fluff and I are going to be trying out the Opal apple. The Opal apple was developed in 1999 in Prague, and now it's grown in Washington State. With the Opal apple, I'm supposed to be tasting sweetness, floral notes, and there wasn't a lot of other information about how it should taste, so I'm kind of expecting everything else to be sort of middle of the road. Here's a close-up of the apple. You can see it's got this really interesting golden yellow color with these dark spots. And I gotta say, the texture of the apple is really interesting. It's kind of rough, sort of like a golden pear. All right, now I'm gonna take my first bite of the apple. Let's see how it tastes. Okay, I'm going to take this in, cut it up, and when we come back, I'll give some to Dr. Fluff, and we'll tell you what we think. All right, we're back with our cut up Opal apple, and I got to tell you, this is a really interesting tasting apple. Honestly, it doesn't taste like an apple at all. It tastes just like a golden pear. But the texture is that of a really good apple. So you're getting this texture that's very crisp, very crunchy. There's a lot of moisture. A lot of the things that kind of keep me away from pears, them being dry and very finely textured, this apple is not that. It's a great texture. The flavor is so interesting. When you first bite into it, it's like a pear. Tastes just like a pear. Then you start getting these kind of interesting notes of like a really ripe banana, and then it sort of moves into, at the very end, those more floral flavors. Very interesting. One thing I wanted to talk about today, while I have you, is feeding the apples to Dr. Fluff. I've gotten a couple questions about him liking the apples so much, and so I wanted to tell you about kind of how I prepare them for him. So what I do is I cut them into really small bites, and I take all the skin off, because I think he likes that a lot. So if you're wanting to feed your dog more apples and that sort of thing, that's what I'd recommend, is cut it into really small bites and take all the skin off. I don't think they really like the skin very much. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is some fruits that you cannot feed to a dog, just in case you're thinking, I want to start feeding my dog more fruit as snacks. There are some things that you want to completely avoid. Number one, avocado, cherries, grapes, rhubarb, and any part of the tomato plant that is not the tomato fruit itself. So that includes stems. I'd want to stay away from grapes pretty much entirely, and raisins and everything like that, because they're very poisonous to the dog. So I got to tell you, I think I'd buy this apple again. It's got some really interesting flavors, and it is so incredibly unique. One thing about this apple that's very interesting is that it doesn't oxidize very fast. So you can cut it up, leave it on the table or a charcuterie board or something like that for a long time, and it won't turn brown. Well, anyway, that's all we've got for you today. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.